The Foundation Stones project is something I describe as a core curriculum for 21st century change agents. It's also something that I think of as the conceptual bedrock for a thriving, sustainable future. It's not a blueprint. It's something to build on. And it gathers up my 35 years of immersion in this arena. It's based on 7 topic areas that I'm going to describe in just a moment. And as I said, tonight's presentation is the first in that series of 7. So, foundation stones. First one, what time is it? Which we'll be getting into soon, but it's essentially what is our place in history and how do we better understand that? The second one is something I call tools for the journey. And I need to explain this one a little bit more, so we're going to do this. Culture is a really central concept in a lot of what I do. And I look at culture as this interface between our innate human nature and the wider world. And it's an evolving, dynamic interface. It's changeable. And it can change as both, well, particularly as the wider world changes, but also changes within culture. If we're going to understand this, it really helps to have some literacies. The first literacy in the tools for the journey is what I call the human operating system literacy. You can think of this as kind of a psychological literacy that enables us to understand both our innate human nature and the human side of the culture. But we need to add to that a second literacy, which is systems literacy. And with both the human operating system literacy and the systems literacy, basically the world opens up to you in an incredible way, and things that have just been puzzling before become much more understandable. So it's going to be this set. That's going to be the core of the tools for the journey. I won't spend as much time on the rest of these right now, but just to mention that the third one is something called How Connected Are We? And it's going to really look at the way in which our culture has the notion that we are more separate than the empirical evidence supports. So we're going to look at really empirically how well are we connected, what ways are we connected, and it isn't just the category of connected or not connected. There are all kinds of interesting ways in which that happens, and we'll get into all that. The one at the top is called Living as a Whole Being, and that's a place where we're going to draw together learnings from both depth psychology and the spiritual traditions, and in various different ways, in effect, look at the deep questions of what is the good life and what is it that gets in the way of the good life. We go from there to a fairly necessary part of being able to deal with the good life, which is whole system economics. And one of the core concepts in whole system economics is the notion that you have to look not just at what's happening with flows of money, but you have to look everywhere that there are flows of goods and services, and that very importantly includes households and natural systems. And unless you have households, natural systems, and the marketplace all on the same basis, you can't do rational economics. It just doesn't work. But whole system economics actually gives us a chance to ask some very interesting questions and come up with some great stuff. We move on from that to whole system governance. My time in Langley was very interesting as a sort of a graduate course in that. And then the last one is something called Street Smarts for Change Agents. How do we do this stuff in a way that really works? So I've presented them one at a time, but actually they're all part of a system. They're all interlinked. And as we move along, the interconnections between them will become more and more obvious.